This is Beyond with Heather Tesch, where we examine near-death experiences and life itself, hopefully making this life a little better. Hello, once again, my guest is Bill Letson. Bill, thank you for joining me for part 3.
Thank you for having me, Heather.
It's great to have you here again. And for those of you that are listening, make sure to listen to part 1 and 2 first. Bill had so many fascinating things to say. One thing you were just talking about in part 2 was the importance of our vibration on this planet. And you mentioned kindness. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, that is, all the religions of the world, they've all got this dogma and doctrine and all these lengthy volumes of this and that. And they all come down to one thing, and that is do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. And the one word sums that up is kindness. That is the basis of all religions, and everything else is not necessary. It's really very simple that when we live our lives in the interest of helping others and being kind, and even to creatures in the wild, and just kindness, they're all young souls. They're all conscious beings, and the universe just applauds when we have these emotions of gratitude and appreciation for everything else that's here. So yeah, kindness is it's the whole story.
It seems when I look at social media that there's so much cruelty and so much division. And I sometimes wonder, have we really lost our way, or has it always been that way? I mean, because certainly there's always been groups that have been harmed and marginalized. And how do we get out of this? How do we become better?
You're giving me way too much credit. No, I'm kidding. Well, there was that experiment done by Dr. Emoto where he had the jugs of water, and he had people give their emotions of love and appreciation and gratitude, and then he would freeze the water droplet, and he'd get these amazing crystals that look like palaces. And then he also did it with people giving bad emotions to the same water, and he'd freeze it, and it'd be this horrible looking mess. And talking about social media, he did this remarkable thing where he took words, and without knowing what the words were, he taped the words to where on the vessel of water to where only the water could see it. And he got the same results just from the word, the written word. Words, alphabets, they follow numbers, and numerology. The whole universe is made. Our universe is mathematics and numbers, and it's all put together. So when we go to social media, and we see these comments, you'll get them. People won't appreciate me, and the words that you send out onto the social media. That's a mirror, and that is coming right back. Your choice. Those words are coming right back at you, and we're mostly water, and that's what your soul looks like. If you're going to cuss and tear somebody down, and
And we can also be a mirror in a very positive way.
right, and that's the point. Is if you choose those other words, and it's tough because everybody's so stressed.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you choose those higher vibrations, then you will illuminate yourself with those beautiful crystals that are on the other side, that divine side.
And I have actually a simple experiment that people can do at home, which is kind of the same concept. And I did this with my kids when I took photographs. So folks at home can do the same. Get 3 bananas, make sure they're all, real healthy bananas, separate them. And you're not going to touch them once you separate them. So you might even want to mark them so that you know which is which. But then I had my kids and myself, we went up to 1 banana and we just thought, we said negative things. We were nasty. You're ugly. All these things. Didn't touch it though. Then we had the middle banana was neutral. Didn't do anything around that. And then we had another banana and we just said all these positive things and, just how beautiful the banana was and sent it love and that sort of thing. And I mean, obviously, eventually they're all going to turn brown. But what's interesting is how much faster the one turned brown that we sent all that negative energy to. And it's a simple thing. All of you can try at home and it really drives that point home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of interesting things.
Yeah. We're in this, like we've been talked out of it, with the screens and stuff, but we are in this amazing journey and it is just full of magic. And we can learn these secrets. You look at the ancient civilizations and stuff, they understood this stuff. And, like right now, 2% of the population would be looking at something like what you're doing, Heather, and that rings true when you look at the views that come in on these videos. But in a golden age, it's reversed. It's going to be 98% of the world is going to be talking like you and I, and we won't have any problems. We won't have any courts or cops or prisons because everybody's going to be so illuminated that, you'll be able to read their energy. Everyone can read everyone else's aura and you know what everybody's about. And so, yeah, that's my prediction.
Do you think the hardships we face are actually things that are meant for us for our growth? And they're actually sort of a positive thing?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are no accidents. There are no, synchronicities are things that are, there's the script's running around us and it's trying to get our attention. Yeah, there are no accidents. And there's a good movie out there. It's called, and I'm not a movie guy and I'm not a celebrity guy or I don't do any of that stuff. I just live in the country. But my wife and I will watch a movie now and again. And she said, these movies, this was a couple of years ago during COVID. She said, these movies are telling this, they're talking about things that you're talking about. And we started looking closer. And there's this movie called The Adjustment Bureau, where there are these guys that are not of the physical. And it's got Matt Damon. It's a great movie. It's really well acted in. But yeah, there's these guys that are making sure he hits his marks in the script, and they're following everybody else, and they're keeping the play, on point. So yeah, we hit our marks, and we do our thing, and when we choose selflessness, the universe just goes crazy. Like in Truman, everybody's cheering and they're happy.
Well, that brings me to something that I heard you say. You said we have thousands of souls watching us all the time. And to me, that sounds kind of embarrassing.
You know what, though? They don't, and I was there. All those emotions of judgment and that drops away. It's only pure love for the adventure, for the soul that's on this adventure. There is no judgment. There is no condemnation, put downs.
Right. That's good to know if they're watching us. Thank you. I heard you also say that negative emotions can be a tool for us to learn. Can you explain that?
We come into this earth and we don't, those emotions do not exist where we come from. Everything is just incredible bliss. It's playful, joyful bliss. And so we come down here and this place is full of challenging emotions. And we come down here and we get to push against this harsh environment and to learn from it. Are we going to go along with the crowd and pick on somebody, or are we going to step forward and say, hey, leave this guy alone, he's my friend?
NDEs are also very different, but it seems like yours is really different. Why do you think that they are so different from one individual to another?
Well, I think that all of us have this personality that we're pretending to be, this avatar in the Earth hologram, and we can all at any time we can pull back. If there's a stress in your life, like a physical stress where you nearly die, that sets off the pineal gland and it releases DMT and rockets the soul out of the body. But there are, like a child that's being abused, they'll tell you a story of how they would pull back. They would pull out of that temporary human and sit at the soul level or even higher and watch the abuse and feel sorry for the human that it was, the human that was them. So yeah, we can all pull. Well, a friend of mine says, zoom out. We can zoom out. Right now we're zoomed in to this single, this separate, this ego, this personality. And we're having this adventure in this body and this character. And we can zoom out to a soul level and you get to look and say, okay, this isn't that serious. There's really not any problems here. And you can zoom out again, and go to the higher self. And, if you put together everything we've been talking about, this is kind of my round trip thing that I hit all of those places. And so all of us, like my wife, she said when she was learning to drive with her boyfriend's car in high school, she went off the road and it rolled a bunch of times. And she said it seemed like she just kind of pulled back and thought, well, that's the end of her. And she said it wasn't a concern in the world. It was like, it didn't mean anything. I didn't mean anything, but there was no loss at all. But there was this beautiful 16-year-old girl that was, broke a bunch of bones and all this stuff. But she said it was so peaceful that I didn't give a care in the world about that life I just had. And that's the only thing she remembers in her life where she had something like that happen. And we all have the possibility for that. And, the near-death experiencers, they pull back a little bit and they hit the soul. And this is the people that are on the operating, they're on the ceiling of the operating room and they're watching themselves get operated on. And, and then if you continue to go, then they'll go through the ceiling. You hear these stories, they go through the ceiling and then next thing you know, they're rushing through a tunnel and, they're on their way to that higher self and beyond.
Is it through meditation that we can kind of achieve some of these things, or what are your suggestions?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Because yeah, everybody can do that. And I think one of the things, so the NDE, when I first started telling my story, I said the same thing because I heard Graham Hancock say it. And I heard, that woman who made the pyramid code, I can't think of her name. She's a doctor, Carmen Bolter. She said it, and Dr. Schock said it, and a number of people, somewhere in their book or something, they said that if you want to know what's going on in the world, ask the near-death experiencer. And Graham Hancock expanded that, and he said, ask the near-death experiencer, ask the shaman, the people who use the plant medicine, and ask the people who can do that really powerful meditation to where they feel the vibrations, and it's almost like you're in a trance or you're hypnotized. Your whole body becomes heavy, and you can feel yourself like pulling out into this trance, euphoria, blissful state. People stay there for hours. They don't want to come back. So my recommendation is you don't want to try to have a near-death experience. That's
right.
That's out. And the shamanic medicine, I drank ayahuasca a handful of times around 2013, and that's pretty brutal. That's pretty. It's like a forced astral travel, and we're talking about the soul and the
and I think you got to ease people in with something a little gentler than that.
Right. And I think that there's this woman, Dolores Canyon. I've been looking at her stuff, and she's talking about what that last group, in my opinion, and that was Edgar Cayce did that too. He'd sit quietly until the vibration started, and then he would find himself. There would be a loud, flash of light, loud pop, and he'd find himself outside of his body, a speck of light, and then and he experienced that dismal, lonely place, and he knew that he had to follow the light in order to be safe, and he would move into these other dimensions and go get a reading from the Akashic Records. This was Edgar Cayce, a very famous American mystic in the 40s. So yeah, you can do that with the meditation thing, and we've been talking about all these ways to raise your frequency, and we talked about water. If you use structured water, put water in sunlight and pour love into it and give it that whirling thing that, a lot of our water is processed and stuff like that. And what I do, I have this big flat magnet out on the deck, and I got this big thing of water, and I got this sitting on this magnet. So the magnetic Mother Earth, the water normally would flow along the surface, and it would swirl and turn, and then the sun would be beating on it, pouring love, divine love from the sun, our home. And so you got this magnetism and this divine energy from the sun, and then you put your emotions into it, which is a huge part of it, and the water becomes structured water. And you drink that every day, and you'll see huge changes.
Really? And
oh yeah, yeah, you'll see that, and just like the banana,
Yeah. And I know that sounds really out there, the banana too. So I guess I shouldn't think the water is that out there.
Yeah, and water is it's like a magical, multidimensional being, and it holds memory. It has memory, and when it falls back to Earth, and runs across Mother Earth, and all those memories, all that, the bad energy is removed, and then you just structure water, fill it with good energy, and then put it in your body, and you're going to light up like a light bulb. And all the things like eat fresh food, eat lots of salads and oils that haven't been processed, foods that haven't been processed. Those oils, those are, if you pour oil out on water in the sunlight and look at it, it's a rainbow. And that is the energy of the sun that's caught in those oils. And, it finds its way all through your body when it takes those color codes and that energy and fills you up with.
Interesting.
I know I'm starting to sound like a real wacko, but.
Well, I think, it's interesting because there are just so many different levels of just understanding and what goes on. And some people will accept this much, but maybe not this much. And it's always interesting just to get exposed to all of it and kind of open up our mind, maybe just a little bit at a time,
Yeah.
to different ideas.
Another thing I did this, started this 5 years ago. I was laying, I got a bed out on the deck. As all this stuff started happening, I sleep underneath the stars, and I just watch all this energy just pour down. It's, like the aurora borealis. If you go up to the Arctic Circle, you get underneath that, that green and purple, and there's every color in the rainbow. That's when you get underneath it, it's pouring down. And when I sit out and look up at the star-filled sky, this energy is just pouring down all the time. It's all around us. It's
well, it does seem magical. Anytime I'm out under the stars, it just brings such peace.
Yeah. So I started one morning. I woke up and the sun was just coming up, and this voice, it comes in. People like me, it comes in on the left, and it's almost like you're tapped on the shoulder, and it says, "Hey, pay attention." Anyway, the voice said, "Get out of bed, go stand on the green grass with your bare feet, and look at the sun." And I learned not to argue, and so I, jumped down there. I said, "Okay, whatever. You're not supposed to do this, And that was about 5 years ago, and I do that most mornings. You put your bare feet on magnetic Mother Earth and look up to, the sun, source energy, that great spirit that rains down everything that brings life in this area that's coming from the sun."
But doesn't that damage your eyes to look into the sun?
Yeah. So don't do that.
Right. Don't do that.
Don't. I was going to tell somebody that before, but yeah, that's what, I did it for a couple of weeks, and my wife said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Well, it's nothing. Nothing's, I would do it for, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. It's called sun gazing.
Wow.
And it, the eyes are the windows to the soul. That's one thing I read. And why not jump in the windows and let some light in? Your soul is starving. So yeah, I did that, and I went to an eye doctor, the Costco guy, and a few months later, and I went through the check-in, and I said, "Can you check again?" He did the X-ray thing, or the scan thing, and he had this picture, and I go, "Can you check again?" Because with this sun gazing, I was starting to experience things, because you're being infused with that light, and you're changing. We're just really, in these times, we're really cut off from who we really are. We have rubberized souls, and our feet don't touch the ground, and we're not supposed to look at the sun. We're supposed to cover up everything. And when you do the exact opposite, everything starts opening, but don't look at the sun. So make sure, tell everyone that. But yeah, I told this doctor, I said, "Can you look again?" He goes, "Oh, everything's cool. Your eyes are good. You're doing good, old timer, And he goes, "Why? What's going on?" And I said, "Well, you guys, you got two eyes covered, but you're missing a third eye. You ought to expand your practice." Because it was, with all that light coming in,
Mm-hmm.
there were things happening. I could see auras around people, and it was cool.
I'll bet the doctor might have thought you were a little strange
Oh, yeah.
talking about a third eye, but
Yeah, he did. He looked at me for a long time, and I could almost hear his thoughts. He was like, "God, you were such a nice guy, but you're crazy."
yeah. So do you have any words of comfort for somebody who's lost a loved one?
We've never lost anyone. We've just watched the NDEs. We've just slipped out of the physical. We've just zoomed out, and we've dropped the vessel we were pretending to be, and we've gone home. And, it's a 10 million% upgrade, and nobody's ever died. They're just further up the trail from us, and we'll see them again, guaranteed. And there's never anything to worry about. They're having a wonderful time. It's us that you need to worry about.
Right. I know I heard your cat and your dog in the background. I've got cats and a dog. A lot of people that are listening have pets, and that seems to be a huge question that people have. Will our pets go on? Will we see them again?
Yeah, absolutely. They're young souls. And those of us that look after all, God's creatures, we understand that they're young souls, and we have a responsibility to look after them. We had a cat that we lost recently, and I saw her energy run across the room, and it was just this big black and white fur ball, and it shot across the room, and I'm like, oh man, she doesn't even know she's dead.
Nice.
She's back at the house, and
she's all frisky.
Yeah, and the cat and the dog both jumped up and ran in that other room, and I'm like, they saw her too. And I went in there. She wasn't there, she was long gone. But yeah, our animals, if they're really connected to you, when they pass, they connect to our energy. And sometimes, if you let go into that meditation thing, and you'll look down into your energy, and you'll see them, you'll see some form of them, their colors, or moving around you, on you.
Very comforting to hear. Before we go, I want to hear a little bit more. You have a book, correct? It's about the Kundalini?
Yeah, it's called Full Contact Kundalini, and I'm upgrading it, and people, send me an email, and what I'll do is I'll send them an ebook when I finally, you and I have hit all these things. When I finally organize all this stuff into a written form, I've got a lot of videos and slideshows, and that's what I think people are looking at right now. So before I, head back, into the next realm, I'll get that down into words in a book form.
You could start a YouTube channel.
I don't know.
Stick to the book.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah.
I don't have much more to say. I think I have one more video that's you and I have really danced around some of these things, because most, every time I talk to one of these podcasts, I say, the NDE is pretty cool, but it's about 10% of what human beings could really benefit from. And usually they edit it. If we do talk a little bit about that stuff, usually they edit it out, and that's cool, because that's kind of that's the theme right now, NDE. And eventually I think it'll go to this thing about this DMT and the power of the pineal gland and the seat of the soul, and what the Egyptians knew and the Mayans knew about this zooming out, that we talked about, and how, you don't need anything. You can, through this meditation thing and this almost this self-hypnosis trance, you can have all the same experiences. You're that powerful.
Well, it's certainly been very interesting to talk to you, and I feel like we have so much to think about. You've just given us so much information. I appreciate that a lot. Before we go, do you have some parting words that you can give the folks that are listening to us?
You're always okay. Yeah, you have never have anything to fear. In fact, the only thing to fear is fear itself, because that's what holds us here. That's what traps us in those lower vibrations. That's what fear is, the lowest vibration. So carry on. Everything's fine.
Well, thank you, Bill. You have given us so much to think about, and I really appreciate you taking all of this time to talk to me and to talk to everybody that is listening today. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. You're very genuine and authentic, and you're doing wonderful things.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining me on Beyond with Heather Tesch. Please add comments and questions you'd like future guests to answer. Also, if you liked what you heard, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. That'll help keep this podcast going. You can also go to Beyond with Heather Tesch to look for more episodes.